And I'm live. Pretty cool. Today is 12th of April 2026, Sunday, and today we are going to do something that is very cool. NixOS. So I have a MacBook, and on a MacBook there is a thing called Homebrew, which is the basic package manager which you use to install and delete packages. But then I want to use Linux later on, or whenever I have money to buy a good laptop, I will be using Linux. But how can you use Linux on a Mac OS machine? You use a VM. Yep. So you use a virtual machine inside Mac OS and you play around in that virtual machine till you get an actual ARM or Intel machine, and you install your Linux configuration into that and work with that. But the problem with this, with using a VM here on macOS, is that whatever things you create will be lost, and you won't be able to use those things in the Intel machine. When you later on do get an Intel machine, you won't be able to use all these things here. Like for example, you would be able to use configurations that you have written for different packages. Like if I create my NeoWeb config, I can put it onto GitHub, and when I do use a real Linux system, I can copy that from GitHub into the Linux machine and use it there. But it is very manual. You will have to manually install all the packages like NeoVim, tmux, Hyperland, and everything, and then get their configuration and manually start them. But it turns out there is a thing called NixOS, which is not just a single thing, it is multiple things into one, combined into one. So the of NixOS philosophy of NixOS is a global config file. You have a global config file which defines not just a single program but your whole operating system. And yep, you have a single configuration file which describes your whole operating system, and whenever you go to a new machine, you just copy this configuration onto your new machine, and the whole state of your operating system with the packages, the programs, their internal configurations, and your settings for the operating system, like the font and everything else, that is defined in this single file, and you can copy it into any machine that you're using and just recreate your whole Linux. And there are three parts to this thing. There is number one, the Nix language, which is used to define this configuration. And this is a functional language which is similar to Haskell. Haskell is also a functional language. So NixOS is the language which you use to define the configuration. Then there is the Nix Package Manager, and yep, Nix Package Manager reads this Nix language configuration and downloads the packages and changes the setting for your operating system, and also puts the configuration files for those packages which were defined by this language. And third thing, which I think is more what most people think of Nix when they hear Nix, is the Nix OS. It is an entire operating system when built around the Nix language and the Nix package manager. So on macOS, we cannot use the NixOS because literally we are on macOS, so we cannot just use another operating system unless we are using a VM. Then we can do anything whatever we want. But there is a way. There is a package called Nix Darwin, and this thing is a package manager which reads your Nix language configuration and tells your macOS Darwin kernel all the things which were defined in the configuration. So if you tell, using the Nix language, if you write a configuration file and you give that configuration file to Nix Darwin, it will read the configuration file, see all the packages which are written in that file, and then tell your macOS to install all those packages with their configuration. So pretty cool, pretty cool. Oh, Hyperland, ordinary. Okay, let me like get good at one thing. I will get into other things slowly, slowly. So for today, the goal would be, here I am using brew, and I guess there is a command in brew which we can use to list up all the things. These are all the packages which have been installed using brew. I would like to just stop using brew and write all this configuration in Nix language. So that would be pretty cool. So first of all, we have to get a hold of the Nix language itself, for which we can either go to learn X in 5 minutes. Here we have the whole, not the whole thing, but a pretty good start about the Nix language. I have already installed an LSP for this and also a tree sitter so that we get error messages. Pretty cool, pretty cool. And this is how you write code in Nix language. This is how you define a function, and this is how you call a function. This is like arrow function in JavaScript. In JavaScript, you would write it something like this: fn equals an arrow function which takes an x and returns this thing. But in Nix, we have a full here, and when you call a function, you do not give parentheses, you just call that function. And in Nix, the one thing is that a whole .nix file is a single expression. This whole thing has to be a single expression, so you cannot have like something expression 1 then expression 2. Nope, you cannot. The whole thing has to be a single expression. That's why you must use let this thing in this thing, and the result of this whole thing would be the output of this expression. You cannot even make another function call, I think, or you can make another function call, which is crazy. Okay, let's see what happens. And to run a Nix file, you call Nix instantiate. Yep, you cannot call another function. Shit. Nix instantiate help. How do we evaluate a thing? Parse eval. Yep. Hello.nix, and the value is hello. Cool. So yep. Now let's get a bit familiar with the Nix language, and then we will start writing our configuration. And there are multiple things. There is a thing called flakes, which is like a single configuration file, flake.nix file, which we use, and this also is a single configuration. This is an object which has a key description whose value is a very basic flake, and it has another key inputs whose value is another object where we have this, where we are defining from where we are installing all the packages. Nix has a Nix pkg s store on GitHub where all the packages are there, and Nix packages are the Nix has the highest number of packages, and also the latest packages are there in Nix, more than any other Linux operating system. And then we have another key output, which would be the actual configuration. Output is a function which takes in two parameters, self and Nix pkg, and returns all this. It tells the operating system, cool, default, hello is something cool. So we'll be writing flakes and stuff. And for experimental purposes, it would be cool if we could solve a code forces problem in Nix language. It would actually be cool. But we cannot do this We cannot submit Nix in code forces. I saw that. You can submit your code in any other language like C++, Perl, PHP, and other things, but not with Nix. Shit, today is contest is actually running. There is a actual running contest. Okay, that is crazy. That is actually crazy. I didn't know. Okay, this one began at some crazy time. Okay, my friends must also be giving. No. Shit, that is crazy. There is a contest. So if you go to this submit tab and submit code, we cannot submit code because we are not registered to this contest. Okay, let's see some other config, some other thing. Flip it. So yeah, the point being, by the way, have you read count of? Nope, not yet, as problems are leaked. Unrated as shit. Okay, this is unrated. Problems were leaked is crazy. Nope, I have not read. It is very long, right? But it is not going to be the longest book that I have ever read. Count of by Alexander Damas. Yeah. We cannot submit in Nix. So let's write a simple file which would have the input, and we will read that file and solve this problem in Nix language to just get a hold of the language. This would be our text in the file. Let's see. This might even be, this probably is like not even needed. Input.txt. We have all the input here. Solve.nix. Here, this whole thing has to be a single configuration. So we will define let function equals something and n, and then we will call this. So we will here define a function. Let's say we just have a way of reading this whole thing. Let's see how to read. In Nix language basics. This should be helpful. File. Evaluate files. Yep, like in normal languages, we have, if you write a equals something and then like this, here a has a value 1 which is of type integer, and now a is of type float, and now it is string. And if you give in the path like this, input.txt, this is a string which has a path, but in Nix there is a special thing. This path itself is also a basic data type, just like integer or strings. So that is the first time I'm hearing about this. This is crazy that a path is a basic primitive data type in a language. Crazy stuff. So yep, how do we read a file? We have a path. There must be a way to read a file. Working with local files, file sets, Nix REPL. How to read a file. You could use the substitute family of bash functions. Shit, I guess how to read file. There might not be a inbuilt function to read text from a file in Nix, but there are ways to run a bash command inside Nix. Okay, shit, there is a built-in function, built-in dot read file. Okay, content equal built-ins dot read file. Yes, input dot txt and content. Okay, and here Nix instantiate ul this thing solve.nix. Cool, we are reading the whole file with new line character like this, which is crazy. This might be because of the bash thing. Yep. Instantiate eval solve. Nope, this is how we are reading file with like new line characters. Okay, so we have this thing as a string, or also how to see data type in Nix for variable. For a given variable, how do we see the data type in Nix data types? Built-in dot types of type built-ins dot type of content Nix instantiate solve string. So okay, we are able to read the content of a file as strings. Now we want to split string in Nix language. How do we do that? Let's see. Lib, there is a lib thing dot split is string separator and a string that will give us a list. Okay. All.next content nums equals lib dot strings dot split string by just a split string by new line content nums undefined lib. Do we have to include lib somehow? Lib, we have to include lib from somewhere. We could use built-in split this regex. And do we have to standard library built-in? Okay, how to include standard library? How to include standard library in it? Shit, not this one. Including a custom local library. Shell. Let's see if this works. Instantiate. Nope, lib does not exist. Okay, lib does not exist. How do we include lib? Let lib equals Nix package dot lib pkg, extending lib. Undefined expression Nix packages. We cannot use let in here. Okay. Undefined content. Content is legit defined here. These are two keys. String function, split is string usage. It does take in two things. Content is not. Okay, we cannot do this. We cannot do this. Okay, now we have a key, which is this content, and we want this key to be accessible here. We can use with. Yes, okay, and so what we can do is we can define all the variables that we need at the top, and then we can define a function with. I think this might work or this might not. Content, but shit, okay, content is still not available here. Yeah. Attribute content of type is not used. Expected. Why would we expect? Comma. We want lib to be accessible, right? We have this variable content which we want to be accessible here, so we put built-ins dot read file dot slash input dot txt. Do this. Now we have nums, but again we have all the numbers in a list, which is good, but we want this number to be accessible later on. How to make a key value pair reachable available in same Nix in its own Nix object. How do you do that? Rec. Okay, cool. Shade rec with rec. What is rec? Recursive set. This allows an attribute to reference another attribute within the same set. Rec or let. We cannot use let with what we have defined. Can we use rec here? Attribute is not necessary. Rec. Recursive. Okay, rec means recursive. Makes sense. Content equals built-ins read file dot slash input txt, and here now instead of this we can, okay, cool, yes, we can give content. Cool, content is available. Now we need to print. Now we need to print. This is just a function without a name. this is saying that this is a function which takes in this lib variable, and then this is the function body for this parameter. But what would this be evaluated to? Okay, it is evaluated to the whole function. Okay, the object which is returned. Okay, we do not want that. How to selectively evaluate an object in Nix. We want only some variables from this object to be evaluated or visible outside a specific key. Nope. This thing right now will evaluate to content and nums. Let's see, instantiate eval or a lambda function. This is evaluating to a lambda function. This is evaluating to a lambda function. Okay, we can call this lambda function at place by lib and comma args, and here we can give 5, let's say, unexpected text. Unexpected text. Okay, let's use a little bit of Claude maybe, or no, how to define a function in Nix and then output its value. Wait. Phone is going to die actually. Good. It's better. Not Unix in Nix language. Not in mix in Nix. Okay, let's use Claude because we have a specific problem here. Okay, I have defined a function in a Nix file and I want to output its value after its evaluation. This is the function. Cool. Built-in trace, most common. prints standard error during evaluation or avoid evaluation twice. Nums equal to this. How to import lib in Nix. How do you import lib in Nix and write a normal file in Nix? Yep, like this. So we are defining function in a .nix file. Yep, we want to do this. Oh shit, we can do this. Import it directly from Nix package. Okay, shit, that was shit. Okay, that is how we do it in a .nix file. Let equals import packages like this. Nix packages. Nix packages in something. Okay, lib equals packages dot lib. Cool. And then content would be built-ins dot read file dot slash input dot txt. We have the file. Cool. And nums would be equal to lib dot strings dot split string at new lines, and the string is content, and then return num. Love this. Cool. That is pretty cool. Next, instantiate and code. Yes, perfect. Just what we expected. Code is what is code? Comment this out. Content. Next, instantiate. Okay. Content is fine. We are able to read it. Okay, and then what is built-ins dot type of, or I think it is type of nums, known built-in type of type of variable index data type. Get type of variable index. How do we get a variable built-in dot type of O capital O? Next, instantiate list. Okay, and okay, we have a list of strings which we want to print. List of strings in Nix, not inks. Nix language. How to print a list of strings in Nix language. Built-ins dot trace for debugging purpose. You can use this to print a value to standard error. And what is the second text after this? Concatenating is nope, we do not want to concatenate. Built-in dot trace is the thing that we will use. Dot trace nums. Okay. Nix instantiate. Okay, that did not work. Evaluation finished. Maybe we have to give a string afterwards for something. And Nix instantiate and shit. Thunk, 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 thunk. And at the end we see end. Nums is a type of list which we are not able to prove. How do we loop in Nix so that we can print each variable individually? Let's say how do we loop? Is there a way to loop in Nix? Avoid repetition. There is no loop. Mapping over a list. Yep, we do have a map over a list. Map, we can define a function. We can call map and give it a function and then a list, and this would happen to all the things. Okay, map the function. Wait, does this work? Yep, this does not work. Makes sense. X, and what we want to do is built-ins dot trace with x, print this x, and code. Shit. Nums is a list, but we are not getting. Split by splits a string into substrings based on a predicate that exterminates adjacent characters. Input predicate function that takes 2 arguments. Nope. Let's see, there might be a better way to split a string in Nix. Hello, DomDMK. How is it? lib.split string. The output is not this. How do we print a list like this? What we can do is lib.split string by new line. This is the thing that you want to split. Split by this thing. Nix instantiate. Code. Shit. On printing a list in Nix. Nix language. For debugging built-ins dot trace mylist. Why do we give in mylist twice? Let's see if that works. Nums equals lib dot split string, this string, built-ins dot trace nums Nix instantiate. Shit, no. Let's use Claude now for this. I have a list in Nix after using lib dot split string on a string, but on using built-ins dot trace on it, I get like some crazy thing, which is this code which doesn't make sense. Okay. We define a list. Let result equal to this. That code out means that the list elements are unevaluated thunks. Okay, thunk is a thing in Linux. In Nix is lazy and hasn't forced their evaluation yet. Okay. Nix is lazy, so if your object has some depth, Nix will not evaluate them unless you are intentionally evaluating them. Okay. To force deep evaluation, use built-ins dot deep sec. Okay, so first of all we get the string, and then we call built-ins dot deep sec on the result list, and the second argument is trace. Why are we giving trace? Built-ins trace. Let's see. Let res equals this in built-ins dot deep sec. Okay, and this might work. Let's see. Nope, this thing also doesn't work. Solve Nix. You also have to pass something else, built-ins dot trace result. Built-ins dot trace res. Then we output nums. Let's see. Next. Yep. What is nums? Okay, cool. Shit. We are getting something. Now. 5, 3, 2. CV31, the problem was encode forces. This one, aluminium boxes. In Nix language, even though we cannot submit the problem here, but we are manually doing it. 4, 3, 10, 3. Yeah. 3, 1 is the last one. 3, 1, 2, 1. Okay. Cool. But sometimes we are getting like stuff like, okay, we printed the list twice and the last character is empty. Okay, how to remove the last character in Nix language list? How to remove an element from list in Nix? Remove from list in Nix. Home packages always clang. Why are they talking about clang? Okay, because they want to remove clang, but we do not have we do have a list, not lib lists dot remove element and this. Okay, lib dot dot remove. The thing that we want to remove is empty from nums. Previously declared here, we are not declaring anything. Dot remove empty from this. Cool. NixOS. Okay, and shit, we are getting error here while evaluating the second argument passed to built-ins dot filter deepsec expected list but found this. Built-ins dot type of nums, is it a list? Nix instantiate eval solve.nix lambda. Shit, messed up. That is messed up. So nums is not a list, it is a lambda. Which results to this. So how do we evaluate nums? Will this work? Terminal Nix instantiate lambda. Shit, this is still a lambda. We do not want the lambda, we want the list. We want the list out of a lambda. How to give value of a function to a variable in Nix. Output value of a function. Here nums is defined as a function. We want it returns a list. We do not want the function, we want the list. We have to call the function, but what if that function does not take in anything? Multiple argument or no argument. Yep, I think like this. Okay, that might work. Nix instantiate. Cool. This thing is a set now. Okay, we have a set now. And now how to remove an element from, or I think we should convert this set into a list because set does not have an order. Convert a set to a list in Nix and add values. Get the attribute values for this. Cool. At values is unknown built-in attr at values. Okay, and now what is the type of list? lst error. While calling type of, we got error while calling type of, but before that we got error while calling this because expected a set but found partially applied built-in trace. does set in Nix language have order? I don't think they do. Like by definition, not Nix language. Nix language. They should not have unordered. If they are, that is why they are called sets, because they do not have any order. Let's see how to remove an element from set in Nix. How do we remove an element from a set in Nix? Remove atters. Okay, this thing takes in nums. Let set equals this in remove atters from set, and the thing that we want to remove is empty string, and then SWT lst equals set, call this with empty thing Nix instantiate and error. Remove atters, we should I think call it with built-in. Built-ins, this is prelude built-in, the blend built-in. Okay. Still expected a list but found a string. Okay, cool. We can fix that. Nix instantiate and shit SETT. Attempted to call something which is not a function but a set. We have a set. Okay. Nix instantiate and cool, not cool, uncool. We still have this. Remove last element from set in Nix language. Remove the last element. Nix solve. Remove adders. This is our set. Let's say this is our set. Cool. LST equals remove adders from set. Remove this. Still, we are not able to remove this thing, and we haven't even begun to write our configuration. We are just right now trying to solve code forces problem in Nix language. Crazy, and it has been, I guess, quite some time. Yep, 52 minutes, 54 minutes, and we haven't even taken in proper input. Okay, perfect speed. At least we know that we can import packages, we can import lib, how to import stuff. Cool. We know some like basic things now. Okay, let's This is print hello. We do not want hello. We want to do map on list. And this also wants a function, I think. Map x plus 1, like this. Shit. Map and then x plus 1 list. And redundant parentheses. URL literal is duplicated. Fix available. What is the fix? Map and Nix language. Yep. Expression and then the list. Let's see. Nix, what does it evaluate to? It evaluates to error. While evaluating, the second argument passed to map expected a list but found a set. Set to list. And next, how do we convert a set? Hello. Hey bro, can I see a student at tier 3 college currently? I'm in my 7th semester. Okay, like the very start of it, and wanted in my past third year. Now I'm starting DSA and web dev. Feel very demotivated and depressed, which is very natural. Yes, you will feel that way, but that is like no reason to stop getting good. Yes, this is no idea what I'm doing here. We'll see how it works. And right now we haven't even solved a single code forces problem, which isn't even a like thing that anyone would normally do. Why would you solve a code forces problem in Nix language? Does not make sense, but okay, we will fix this. But yep, don't feel, or you cannot decide how you feel. I would say just still, even though you feel demotivated and depressed, just still like do something, anything. How to convert a set into a list. Hatter names returns this. Nix, and what is that? Okay. That literally does not do anything. Or at least the type in must have changed. Type of list. It is a list now, and when it is a list, remove last element from a list in Nix. How do we remove that extra empty string from a list? 4 was there, lib init my list, and it just removed the last thing. Okay, shade init element returns everything except the last element. Nums equals built-ins dot init list. Nums is defined again, shade duplicate. nums fn function init unknown init, because it is in lib. Nix, okay, and error. List must not be empty, which it is not. We are not passing in empty list. Let's see, size of list in Nix. How do you get the size of a list in Nix? Hello. Yep. Here for Nix is crazy stuff. You know. Okay, yes, I will get better. I will get better over time. Lib.length. Lib dot list must not be empty. Why is the list empty? Because if we print the list, we do get, okay, we don't get anything. Shit. Lib dot length for lst. Cool. And I should probably make a remap for running this file. There are remaps for running other files. Leader fmt for this. Cool. Yep, like this. And the command for this is nix instantiate eval should know here space nix start bash, and the command is nix instantiate eval split bash and then run. To run the current Nix file, okay, in space nix, yep, that runs the current Nix file. Cool. And the length is 0, which is messed up. Length is 0. Somehow the length is 0. No, I didn't mean to say that you are. I meant, why are you punishing yourself by doing cf in Nix? By the way, have you heard about? Shit, no. Dinky dot. I mean, this is just David Goggins mentality. Pink dot. Time capsule. Call for love stories. Okay, what are you like? What are you talking about, bro? Pink dot. Legendary food delivery. Liquor delivery. Legendary. Okay. Hello. Okay, we do not. What does this raise command do? Built in Nix documentation reference manual. Emmanuel. Trace. Okay. Trace even, evaluate even, and print its abstract syntax representation on standard error, then return e2. Okay, shit. Okay, now Okay. Okay. Built-ins dot type of list. What is the type of list? Okay, shit, we do have a list now we want to remove the last element from this list, for which we will call take or init. List o, let's say list equals lib, or just here you could say pass this full thing to lib dot init and get some error. Okay, list init wants a list. Lib dot init list and code. Shit. This thing returns a list which we again have to pass in. List equals buildings dot d sec. Okay, that is also bad, not good. Hey, thumbnail of the past live stream was wrong number on it, should be part. Okay, shit, I messed up. I guess I messed up. My bad. I will fix it. 147 for code forces. And this deep sec here, deep sec. This takes in two things except that is deep sec. This is like sec expression 1, expression 2, except that expression 1 is evaluated deeply if it is a list or set. Its elements or attributes are also evaluated recursively. Evaluate this thing and okay, it is like sec. So what is sec? Evaluate E1, then evaluate and return E2. This ensures that okay, so if we remove this, we are still okay. Here lib dot init pass list o as the first argument, and built-ins dot deep sec. The thing that we want to deeply evaluate is lsto, and the second argument is empty, and here print list, and that is also empty. Because this thing returns the second thing. Res equals this in built-ins dot deep sec res. Equals to cool, and lst equals let res equals lib dot init lst 0 in built-in deep seek res. Cool shit. Okay, that is working. Yo, it will turn out. Now we have a list after 1 hour, after I guess 1 hour. Yeah, after 1 hour 13 minutes we are able to read the input. Look at this. First thing is 5, then the last one is 3-1, which is correct. 5 and the last one is 3-1. Cool, we are making progress. Nix is, I guess, very niche language to code in. It sometimes should have a strong reason, I guess. Yes, the reason is that using Nix, you can define your configuration for the whole operating system. You can define your packages which you want to download, and also the operating system settings like your font and everything, and then the configuration for those packages which you installed. So using Nix, you can tell your operating system that you want to install NeoVim, and also pull from GitHub this configuration that I have at some URL on GitHub. Cool. So that is what we want. I have a chat windows. Okay, I guess this thing is better because I do not get distracted at times. It's only used. Nope, it is not only used for NixOS. It is only used for Nix Package Manager. Nix Package Manager reads the configuration written in Nix language and tells your operating system what to install. Nix operating system is built around Nix Package Manager, but you can have Nix Package Manager benefits with other operating systems also, like with macOS. With macOS, you have this Nix Darwin. You can use this. This will read your Nix configuration and tell macOS all the configuration settings which we have defined. So pretty cool. It is slowing me down. No, it is not. How? I like this because some time ago I exchanged my laptop with my brother, and then I had to reinstall all the packages and set up all my configuration for tmux, NeoVim, stats, then aerospace and everything, and I did not like it. But using using Nix, I just have to define it once, and when does not matter if I switch to some other laptop or to Linux, I can just have everything ready. So much problems using. Okay, this I'm not. Yep. So I'm not going to use Nix language for generally solving code forces, because you cannot here submit in Nix. When you go to submit a problem here, you do not have a Nix option. Like, it is literally impossible to submit in Nix. So this here is just to get some understanding of the Nix language, because this is a functional language, just like Haskell. So I'm solving this problem to just get to know the language. By the way, you can also use dot files instead of then the dot files. Dot files is a program, or because it is a very generic term, dot files, like Vim has its own configuration files, IDTS. So where did the dot files thing? Okay, right here. Cool. Let's move on. Okay, we have a list of the input. Now what we want to do is we want to get these variables. On the first line, we want to get this variable and then run a loop this many times, 5 times. But there is no way to run a loop in Nix language. There is no way to run a loop in Nix language. But what we can do is we can simulate a loop by having a list get shit. I think we can have t equals lst dot 0. Shit. Is t equal to 5? Shit. Element from a list. Dot element at this gets banana. Hey. To get a element, built-ins dot element at built-ins dot element at in list at index 0. T should be equal to 5. We do have t equal to 5, but that 5 is a string. In Nix language, how do we convert a string to a integer? To int. Okay. Lib dot strings dot to int. Fine, cool. The problem was the scope and order. Cool. So we do know how many test cases there are. Now we want to run a loop 5 or like t number of times. We want to run a loop t number of times, for which, because since there is no way to run a loop in Nix, we can create a list and have t number of elements in that list. How to initialize our list in Nix with a size, and then we can call the map function on that list. So in a way, we would be iterating t number of times. Gen list square. Okay, shit. Built-ins dot gen list. Gen list x returns 0. This should work. T should be a list. T is not a list. Dot element hat while calling gen list expected a function expected a function but found a string which is x0. Why is x0 a string? Gen list okay t, let's say cnt, and then t equals built-ins dot gen list function is x returns 0. T cnt is the list. And why is this being evaluated as a string? Built-ins dot gen list gen list lib lists dot replicate count lists meaning missing because it isn't lib. And pass this full thing. In built-ins dot deep sec res. Cool. Okay. T. So we can run a loop t number of times. We can run a loop int or I equals 1, let's say, and map onto t x plus 1 2 into x. Nix and error, a lot of error. Hello, what's up? Here we do see some struggle. Why is this thing being evaluated as a string? this thing is somehow being evaluated as a string, which should not be the case. Let's see. This x2 into x is evaluated as a string y. The issue is that then list generates a list of indices this and implies your function to each. So res is the list of integers. Those should not appear as string. However, you are seeing them as okay, this passes to string. The issue is that lib generates a list of indices and applies your function to each. So res is a list of integers like this. Those should not appear as string. Is a list of integers. Yes, we want this to be a list of integers. Error. Space. Shit. Okay, there has to be a space. Okay, the problem was space. Now it is better. Okay, shit. There had to be a space after this. Okay. And cool, we do have a list. Cool. One, three, x plus 1 into 2, x plus 1 into 2, x plus 1 into 2, so that we would, no, x into 2 plus 1, x into x into 2 plus 1. Nix. Cool, we have good index number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Cool, now we will run a loop on this. Okay, now we do have the ability to get to these individual things. This is n and this is k. We will get n and we will get k. Okay, or we will have a function which takes in two lists and solves. Fn solve is a function that takes in first and second list and actually solves. Yes, and then we are going to call this solve on map p being a list. We cannot call map here. Allow. Yeah. Map. Map takes in a function and a list. We are giving it a function solve and a list. The error is Nix formatter. Okay, shit, solve does not exist. No, solve does exist later on. No, solve does. Call map with solve and okay, and not t but lst equals lst. Nope, does not work. Do we have access to lst here? No, we don't. Map on this x, let's say print x. Hmm. 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 Step to write a function here which would work. Expected the return value of this function. Nk, undefined variable nk straight lib dot strings dot split string. The string that you want to split is, yeah, something like okay. Lib split string this. Okay. Shit, okay, I messed up. I formatted this whole thing. My bad. In res, okay, res. Res is here. Built-ins dot deep sec res. Okay, so nk is now a list. Makes sense. Cool, much better. Return n plus k. 5, 4, 8, 7, 3, which should be the sum 5, 4, 8, 7, 3. Cool. We are getting this sum. Cool. 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 We have n, we have k. If is sorted. How to see if a list is sorted? How to check if a list is sorted or not in Nix? Either there might be a inbuilt function or we would have to write our own function. Check if a array is sorted or not in. There is no inbuilt function. Okay, we will have to write our own function. My list is this sort with a comparator. Okay. Sort my list and compare it with my list. Okay, makes sense. Makes sense. Shit. First of all, we have to get that list. List equals strings dot split string by space the one at built-in dot element add list x plus 1. Okay, we have this list. That is the value for nk. Okay. Nums equal similarly nums equal definition nums is not used, that is fine. X plus 1, that is the only difference, and then we need to check if nums is sorted. So is sorted would be equal to is nums equal to built-ins dot sort. We have to give the function. The function is like built-ins dot sort a and b. A is smaller than b. A b nested function. A smaller than b. Call this on nums is sorted. So here do not return this, but if is a word, if is a keyword, if is a keyword, is sorted, or I think that is how we say it, or n greater than equal to k, then yes, else no. Okay, this might actually work. Shit, or maybe not. Let's say 0 and 1. Okay, it still does not work. N is not being used. That we don't even need n. We don't even need n. Hello. Cool. Frames have not been dropping. The error is sorted. Okay, while evaluating this, cannot coerce an integer to a string. To a string. My list. This or k greater than equal to 2. It's sorted does not work in itself also. Cannot coerce this part. They don't like this part. Cannot coerce an integer. Built-ins, and the error now comes to built-ins. Nums on list, let's say list, substitute nums with list globally. Rest. Built-ins dot deep sec built-ins dot deep sec gives us a list. Replace with 0 and here output n plus k. There is no error now. We are able to get n and k, but if we output list, what do we see? We see error. Shit, so the error is somewhere in this. Okay, now the error is gone. Okay, the error is because x is not a number. So we can say I equals lib dot strings dot to int x, right? And here use I. Here also use I instead of x, and we still get error. Expected a string but found an integer. Dot to, or is there a two? There is a two string function. Okay. 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 Expected a string found an integer. Here probably. Int to string in Nix. Yo. Just to string. Okay, that should work, but it is not. We can after this here say I equals strings dot to integer nk0 now no integer x and I equals I plus 1 duplicate. I plus 1 and okay, this thing to string index error expected a string found in an integer. Expected a string but found an integer. Element add element add element add element add lm add lm add returns element in from list. Elements are counted starting from 0. A fatal error occurs if the index is out of bounds. And the type for these arguments should be they don't say. By index in Nix, get a element by index lm at 1 advanced list with 0. Shit. That was the error. Here in Nix, if we do this, then now, okay, shit, this is also fine. So what was the error? Anyways, we don't need n now. is bool, or is okay would be true if k greater than equal to 2, then yes, else no. Yes, no, yes, no, yes, no. Okay, we are able to see values for k, and also not just yes, no, also new lines. Map the function x trace output empty thing. Yes. Yeah. Yeah. Not trace, not yes, trace. Okay. Here, cool. If this or is sorted would be when list, if list equals built-ins dot sort by function a b a smaller than equal to b, call this with list. Either this or sorted. Everything is yes except the last one, which is no. 24. Let's go. Yes, this probably will take 24 hours. So it took 1 hour and 53 minutes to solve the easiest code forces problem in Nix. Here we have solved this problem. Let's go. This is the solution, 42 lines long solution for this problem. Very simple problem. Shit. And still we are not able to print this in the right format. The answer is inside a list. I don't know how to print elements from a list individually, but let's see how much time it takes to write the solution in C++. Solve.cpp boilerplate n k taken n and k vector is size n, every element is equal to 0 for int x and a, c and x, and bool res is either k greater than equal to 2 or either this or is sorted a. We can call this with ranges dot is sorted now. If cout depending on res, if res then yes or no. Compile. Cool. So that was very quick compared to the last one. Okay. Hello, bro, what did you use in chess game for state management? A custom object. There is a, also didn't give contest only. Okay, I had no idea that the contest is going to be in the morning. Crazy. So are you setting up or solving? No, I was just solving CF problem to get used to the Nix language. And I guess I have gotten a little bit used to the Nix language. This is how you import stuff. Import like this, and this is functional language. Just stand. Okay, shit. Yes, for that it was just stand. And what is this? Shit. Shit. Yep. I used the stand for state management on the front end side. Shit. How? Oh, cool. And okay, can you write algorithm? No, I cannot write algorithm for segment trees. First of all, I would have to revise segment trees. Or wait, yes, I actually forgot segment trees. Isn't it like this? Binary tree, segment trees. If you want, segment tree is used for something like if you have an initial array and you are given query to find the biggest element in a given range L and R. Your query could be this: find the biggest element in this range, or your query could be change element at index I to e to be equal to x, and in from that new list answer this, like what is the biggest element in this range. So I guess we use segment trees in that case. Yep, we use, I think that is what we use, segment tree, for like if this is your whole range and your L is at some index here, R is at some index here, you take the size, if L and R both are included, then your size is L minus R plus 1, and you take the biggest power of 2 that is smaller than or equal to this. Let's say 2 power x is some power that is smaller than, is the biggest value of x for which this is true. Then you divide your segment into something like this, where size of this thing is 2 power x, and whatever the biggest element is in this and this combined would be your answer. And the thing that you have pre-calculated is starting from this, let's say p, you have pre-calculated a 2D array where first thing is the starting index I and the second thing is the size. And for this you would ask p L and size 2x, and the biggest element in this range would be p, starting index would be R minus 2 power x, and the size is 2 power x. So you have the biggest element in this range, biggest element in this range, and the biggest element in this whole range would be the one which is bigger amongst these two. I think that is segment tree. Shit, I messed up. Is this binary index tree? Yep, and this is just like one use case. You could use this for multiple things. There are problems in CSSFI. And is this like the thing that I just said, is this segment tree? Is this the segment trees? I did solve some query problems at some point. Range queries, dynamic range sum queries, and I am not logged in, and I don't know my ID password. Okay, shit. But yep, for something like this, yep. These are the kind of problems where you would use this data structure. Okay, cool. So now we can solve code forces in Nix, which wasn't even necessary, which legit wasn't even necessary. Now like in the start I said, okay, and there is also this PhD thesis, the purely functional software deployment model. This was a PhD thesis written by this person, Ilko Dolstra, and he wrote it for his PhD. That that is what you write a PhD thesis for. And in this, he proposed a programming language or a system called Nix, which would be declarative. That is, you would just tell that these are the packages you want. It would be purely functional. That is, if you call a function with some parameter, you would always get the same output for a specific set of parameter. There are no side effects for any function. So he wrote this whole thing, 281 page long book for his PhD thesis. And this is what the Nix operating system is built on top of. Binary only used for some queries, and segment for some minimum, maximum updating and minimum queries. This is a generic model. You can use it for legit anything. And Eric though has a cool video on this. And yep, we are not going to read a PhD thesis paper here. It is probably going to be a bit too complex for us to understand. Continuous integration, that is something that I have heard. CI, continuous integration. Okay. And in the start, we saw that there are multiple parts for this Nix thing. One of them is the Nix language, and I think we have pretty much nailed the Nix language part. Like, who else? I think this might be the first time that someone has ever solved a code forces problem in Nix. I don't know, maybe, but okay, we have fixed the Nix language part. Now the Nix Package Manager, and flakes is something, I don't know what flakes is, but yeah, flakes is something we'll have to read about. This is the Nix Darwin module, and this thing reads your Nix configuration file and tells macOS all the things which you have written in your configuration file, and yep, it works. Yep, fenvic trees are not good, and it is not my opinion, it is Eric To's opinion. He said that because these trees are only used for one specific case, so therefore these are not really good. You could instead use segment trees for the cases where a fenvic tree would be useful, and also a segment tree could be used for all the other cases where a fenvic tree is not useful. And also, I guess fenvic tree is a bit more complicated than a simple segment tree. Next module for Darwin. I've already installed this. Here, the whole thing is here. Help. Shit. Newim does not know how to read this. These are the commands. Nix help. Experimental feature. Nix CMD is disabled. Add. Next command. Main commands. Nix build a derivation for fetch. Okay. We have installed flakes, recommended for beginners. Okay, what is a flake? Creating flake.nix, which would have all of our configuration. Getting started from scratch. Yes, let's start from scratch. If you don't have an existing, no, we do not have an existing configuration.nix, you can run the following commands to generate a basic flake inside /etc/Nix Darwin. Make dir. Okay, then change the owner to this for this, and then cd into it. Okay, Okay, we are inside the folder. Cool. Now to use Nix pkg unstable, Nix flake init, initialize a flake, target this branch. Experimental features, Nix shade, not demand, command. Flakes is disabled. Also initialize flakes, unexpected argument, extra experimental feature flakes. Okay, we are creating a thing called flake, whatever it is. Tree from bottom up. Okay, I'm just like yeah, yes, shit, yes, because you are using you first calculate, since this is a 2D matrix, you first calculate one row, then the other, then the third. Yeah, go on using the previous row to build the current row. To use Nix pkg unstable. Yep. Or if you want to use the other one, nope, we will use unstable. Then sed, what is sed command? This thing. TLDR sed. Replace all Apple basic regex occurrences with mango. Edit text in a scriptable manner. Stream editor. The SED utility reads the specified files or standard input. If no files are specified, modifying the text as specified by a list of commands, the input is then written to the standard output. A single command may be specified as the first argument to sed. Multiple commands may be specified by using the E or F options. All commands are applied to the input in the order they are specified regardless of their origin. Okay, 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 okay. So these are the commands. We are doing this thing on this. We do have a flake. We do have a flake here. Shade here to install a package. To install a package here, we can say simply pkgs dot vim dot nvim or newer, just this, and this works. Cool. Make sure to check if Nix pkg dot host platform is set to either this or aerospace for Apple Silicon. What is the host platform? Darwin. Cool, that is correct. And this would be better called Walrus OS. Cool. Yep. If elements are the leaf nodes. Shit, you are the only one watching. Hello, Kakashi Hatage. And look at this. This is very cool. Instead of doing sudo apt install something something, you just give here the names of packages that you want to download. Packages dot this and tmux zsh. Nope. What else? Clang. Shit, there are multiple versions of Clang. I guess Clang would just give us the latest, which is 21. Cool. And then we would also like to have pgcc plus g plus plus Okay, installing Nix Darwin. I did. Unlike NixOS, Nix Darwin doesn't have an installer. You can just run Nix or Darwin rebuild switch to install Nix Darwin. As Darwin rebuild won't be. Do we have Darwin? We do not have Darwin rebuild. Sudo Nix to use Nix package. Okay, this might break everything. This might actually break everything. If array is this, we do some query, then segment tree is stored like shit. Okay. We don't actually use a 2D array. We use a array whose size is twice the size. I guess yes, twice the size of the original array 2n, right? And yep. Tree like structure. Okay. This might break the whole operating system. Not owned by me. That is crazy. Who owns Walrus? Password file. Switch. I think there should not be a space between this and switch. And also experimental features. Next command. Extra experimental features. Nix command. Switch and here flakes is also something that we need. Okay, something is happening. If the stream ends, if it stops, then just understand it is because of this. Okay, this is not taking a lot of stuff. That is good. If it is installing stuff, home, this is not owned by you. Falling back to the one defined in the password file. Root. Shit, this is because we skipped. No, we did do this ch own part. 500 MBs. Okay, what is it even installing? Darwin. It is installing Darwin. And do we have Darwin? 46 MBs. We are at this point, and then sudo. After installing, you can just run this to apply changes to your system. Okay, I guess after this point, we just in flake channels, we have input in flakes, which means something. Okay. Error. Nix Darwin command is not there. Okay, let's try to understand what is it that we are trying to do? No, I am trying to figure this out. And also do a lot while you don't understand a shit. Yes, I do not understand a shit that is going on here. What I do understand is I don't know, I think that NixOS is a program which will read our configuration file and tell macOS what to do. And we are using this thing called flakes to define that configuration file, and we can check. So I am using Nix Darwin on macOS to configure Nix Darwin is the program that reads the config file and implements the declarations. Nix Darwin is the thing that reads the configuration file and implements the derivation. And flakes, what are flakes? And flakes is a medium, which flakes is one method of defining our config file. Let's see. Essentially correct. Okay, let me clarify. Nix Darwin is the tool. It reads your configuration file and applies it to macOS, managing packages, system settings, services, etc. It is the macOS equivalent of NixOS modules. Flakes is a way of structuring your Nix project. It standardizes how inputs, dependencies like Nix Package, Nix Darwin itself, and inputs and outputs, your system configurations are declared. It gives you reproducibility by flake.lock, and conventional entry point is flake.nix. So the relationship is this: file defines where your config lives and what it depends on. This is one of the inputs, and its module system is what your config is written in. Darwin rebuild switch is the command that ties it all together. We don't strictly need flakes. Yes, we don't strictly need. There is a structure here. Flakes are an experimental feature first introduced in 2.4 Nix release, aiming to address a number of areas of improvement for the Nix ecosystem. They provide uniform structure for Nix projects, allowing for pinning specific versions of each dependencies and sharing these dependencies via lock files, and overall make it more convenient to write reproducible Nix expressions. So it is just one way of defining the configuration. A flake is a directory. Okay, that is a very good line. A flake is a directory. Okay, a flake is a directory. Cool. A flake is a directory which directly contains a file called flake.nix that allows a very specific structure. Flakes introduce a URL-like structure for specifying remote resources. To simplify the URL syntax, flakes use a registry of symbolic identifiers. Okay, a registry of symbolic identifiers. So flakes has its own protocol, you could say, or method of specifying a URL, allowing the direct specification of resources through syntax such as this GitHub, and this is the same syntax which is used by GitHub SSH. Flakes also allow for locking references and versions like package lock.json. Minimal Nix flake init. Okay, we are going to Nix Darwin. we will define our flake inside dot config. Flake already, Nix already is there, and we do have something here. I was trying to do something with this in the morning. And okay, what is this shit? Yep, this is yes. rmrf Nix git clone git @ github colon then NixOS. Shit, cloning into NixOS couldn't resolve HTTP, I think. Django, no, I have not used Django. Okay, Nix. Claude. Now I like using Claude. Shit, VS Code setup. Yeah, using Vim gives you internal knowledge of what is happening internally, so that is why it is good. And I like using Claude instead of ChatGPT. Claude somehow seems better. Yep. Shit, front-end development is crazy. Nix is used for defining your whole operating system in a single file, so that when you go to a new Linux machine, you just have to copy that single configuration file, and that will reproduce your whole operating system. And normally what would happen is when you get a new laptop or computer, you would manually do sudo apt, manually install newvim, tmux, and other things, aerospace, hyperland, and then git clone your all the configurations for all of these packages from your github, and point these packages individually to those configurations. And then after spending a lot of time, you would get your operating system to work. But with NixOS, you just have a single file which defines your whole operating system. So pretty cool. I have not used Django. There is a CS50 course on Django. But yep, that's it. I have this github.com. Shit, okay. Git clone git @ github.com / NixOS .git optional. And the password was wrong or something. No, the password was right. Move NixOS to Nix. CD Nix. Okay. We have rm rf config flake hardware. Remove everything from here. Nix flake init, I think, is the command to initialize Nix flake init. This will populate the current directory with a file called flake.nix that will contain something akin to this. Experimental features are required, or we could define this like this. Shit. Copy this. Extra experimental features. Nix would mean Nix extra experimental features, and yep, and along with this flakes. Config Nix flake init. Okay, initializing a flake from Nix store. The basic structure is this. Here the name of the flake, a very basic flake inputs. This is the things that we are going to use whenever we say, I guess, Nix packages. That would point to this URL. Makes sense. And architecture is not this. Architecture is ARch64. Nix packages, legacy packages. Nix packages. So it is a setup. If you are installing Linux, it will do all the configuration you want in the OS. Yes, everything, and also with macOS. So double benefit. Will you be making something Python related? Maybe. I mean, yeah, maybe. Architectures. What is the specific name for this? ARch64 Darwin. Okay, not this. ARch64 Darwin. Hello and default. Okay, this is a very basic thing. Here we have a key called description, whose value is very basically walrus. We call this walrus. Inputs, that is the things that we are going to be using here, and output is taking in self and NixOS and returning an object. This object has two values. We can define other values here too. Outputs, this packages default. Oh shit, there are two ways to define this. Packages dot arch Darwin equals inside here hello equals Nix packages dot legacy packages dot AR64 Darwin dot hello, and cool. Okay, and setup. I guess we are not going to read all of this. We cannot read all of this in a single string. Yo, hello, Archit, bye. How is it going? We are doing here NixOS stuff, defining stuff in Nix. I was kind of successful in creating an algorithm. Okay, you created your algorithm or you implemented an algorithm created by someone else. If you created an algorithm, that is crazy. You will copyright it. Okay, how do we define packages that you want to install? Like this. Environment.system packages. This option specifies extra NixOS configuration for builder. What even is builder? I think we should have used this command instead of the one that we did use. Remove flake. Okay, that was fast. Good. This has more stuff to work with. Description is Walrus OS and configuration name is Walrus. Cool. You know, damn indeed. Without taxes and all, the accuracy was about 91% after including slippage, finance stuff, brokerage, etc. It came down to 65 to 63%. Shit. Whatever this means, trading algorithm for intraday. I have no idea about finance stuff. Like shit. GST on algos before GT6. Shit. Back testing. I got CAGR aggregate. I think AGR might mean aggregate and C combined aggregate. Something. Wait. Nix package .url inputs. Okay, and URL for Apple Darwin and Nix Darwin .input internal package. Okay. Output. It's shit. Shouldn't this come here? Yep. That does not matter. We can put this anywhere at the start or at the end. Okay. And this thing takes self, Nix Darwin, and Nix package. Okay. And the configuration is this. It takes in let configuration equal to this. Okay. And at the end, we do return this, which has a single thing. Nix Darwin configuration for Walrus equals Nix Darwin.lib.darwin.system modules is configuration, and configuration has all this value. Configuration is a function which returns this. Okay, and cool. List packages installed in the system profile. To search by name, run nix env grep wget. And wget is just an example. Okay, so let's install packages. Unit 4, all the packages which we have already installed. Quant, yes, bro is getting into quant without even being a competitive programmer. And they be dealing thousands of crores. They need a factor in this. Shit, factored your help. Shit, and I guess people do this in Rust. List. These are all the packages which are here. Install new and shit. Yep, cool. Anyway, packages dot btop, packages dot lsd, packages dot lua. That is a lot of packages. Docker language server. Oh, and all of these might not even be installable by this. They might not even be in the Nix store, all of these packages. Okay. And this whole thing, substitute very magic space any number of times, multiple number of times. Space means a literal space. Not Nix, Vim, very magic and magic things. Hey, what? You are abusing me about something? Without very magic. Normal mode without V. With V, swap words. First one with the second one globally. Okay, cool. Yes, this is what we want. This is what we want here. Yep. Space, any number. Yep, all the spaces. Substitute them with new line. Does that work? That does not work. Substitute with new line in Vim. Backslash. Okay, shit. Replace every comma with a new line, entire file. Substitute comma with backslash r instead of backslash n. Substitute very magic way, space with backslash r. Cool, that works. Okay, and fix is available. Substitute very magic every a character any number of times, the whole thing. Packages backslash 1 with a space, not a space but dot. these other packages for which we are getting error, these are not available in the Nix store. Open JDK, open what? Java development kit. Why do I even have this? Open SSL. Okay, and the error was because of this. Cool. In the whole file, substitute a legit at the rate. Shit, we have at the rate, other at the rates also. Anything, not anything, a digit, a digit, or a dot, a legit literal dot, any number of times. Shit, okay, we are not matching it. With emptiness. Okay, or just manually remove this. Cool. Okay, we have all the packages then necessary for using flakes on the system. Nix.settings.experimental features. Cool. Okay. Then enable alternative shell support in Nix Darwin. Program.fish.enable. We'll keep it. Set git commit hash for Darwin version. That must mean something. Used for backward compatibility. We do not want backward compatibility. We are doing this for the first time. Cool. Let's see if that works. How do we do this? Darwin rebuild. Ah, shit, but we do not have this Darwin rebuild command. Do we? We do not. We have to change the owner of this Nix file. ls for this Nix file, walrus is the owner, which is me. Wait, what? Vibe coding, you are planning something to do, both of you? /nix and walrus is still the owner, but no one else can access this. Okay. No shit. No, nothing changed. Like legit, literally nothing changed. Owner is still walrus. Okay. We did this before. We are doing this again. Sudo Nix run Darwin and experimental features. Yep, experimental features. Falling back to the one defined. Because we are doing sudo here. We don't do sudo. Yo, system activation must. Now we okay. We have to do sudo. What does Nix run do? run a Nix application, and the one that you are running is Nix Darwin master, and the packages that we want from here is Nix Darwin rebuild. Okay, let's use Claude. Define a flake which uses Nix Darwin. I want to install Nix Darwin using that flake. If this question even makes sense. Okay, take care. This is why Nix run Nix Darwin switch / flake. Flake is this one. To bootstrap Nix Darwin, use this. Okay, where hostname is the name. Host name is the name of your Nix Darwin configuration. Output, this is walrus. Because we are yes, we are not in the right file. Run this from the directory containing your. Did we mess up the flake file? We did not. Oh. This has to be run as root sudo flake here name walrus. Experimental features are required, and I'm still not the owner somehow of my own file. Sudo nix experimental features are flakes and Nix command Nix command run Nix Darwin switch, and flake is this walrus. Okay, something is happening. Okay, adding, and it is downloading something, and we got error. Attribute missing ada.url. Shit. ada.url. This is not there. Okay. Don't install this. $3,500 minus 3,465. Cool. Okay, and little this thing is also not there, and let's see. pg is also not there, and Rimilwa love is also not there, and shit, node is not there. That is crazy. Node must have a different name then. Search packages. I think there is a dedicated search command. Search node shit. Must provide at least one regex. We did provide one regex. Use okay, we have to give the version of node. Okay. Node.js 24. Yo. Is not charging. Node.js 24. Is this the latest node version? Nix search something node something. Okay, shit. We do get auto suggestion here. Cool. And the next is Opus. Opus high level API for decoding and seeking in .opus files. No. And ICU4C. And Python LSP server. Python language server. Python language server, and it hasn't even been 2 hours. PyLSP is the name. Py, right? Python LSP server. Okay. And Python 2. What? The error was with activation script derivation. Python previously pointed to Python 2. Use Python 3 or Python 2 if necessary. What went wrong? Nix command this home. Okay, warning, git tree is and error derivation from something whose name is located at this derivation activation script. Okay, I guess we can slowly install all of these things later on as we move. Okay, it seems to be working. 2.5 GB. Okay, shit. This is installing. Why is it calling this thing dirty? Users.config/nix is dirty. Okay. Okay. This is going to install a 2.5 GB file, but the speed is like actually somehow very good. Speed is somehow very good. Shit. And okay, stream is also going fine. This will take some time. Okay, so we do this. After this, I will have Nix Darwin installed, and it will install packages in its own directory somewhere, and those would be the packages that I will point to, that the terminal will point to. Those would be the packages where the terminal would point to. Those would be the packages indeed where the terminal would point to. And I can just delete the homebrew packages. Okay, shit, that is what happens. Nix installs packages into /nix/store and symlinks them into your environment, typically via this or this. Okay, your shell path will point to those Nix managed paths. Homebrew packages become redundant for anything you have moved to Nix. So yes, you can uninstall homebrew packages or homebrew entirely for anything managed by Nix. Practical approaches: Nix Darwin rebuild switch. Add a package to your Nix Darwin config. Verify it works. Which git? Okay. Yep. Then remove it from. Okay, one caveat. Some things. Okay, GUI like Chrome, Nix Darwin can manage some via homebrew tasks. But native Nix support for macOS GUI apps is rougher. Okay. Yo, hello. Tom DMK. Bro, do you know someone who could perhaps give me a referral? That is a long linked list. I will like see, and if there is someone like that, I would take the referral for myself. I want to make enough money ASAP to move out. Shit, okay. Or is someone torturing you? Blink twice if you are in danger. I will call 911. 2 GB, 500 GB, 500 MB remaining. Shit, bro, I actually blinked twice. I can get it through programming or well, if you want to go down the non-programming path, then there are some illegal things you could do. You could start selling drugs, Walter White, but that requires a prerequisite of having a strong chemistry background and also cancer. and your lifespan would be just 2 years. It is up to you, non-programming path. But I guess Walter White would have also become a good programmer because he was genius. He is genius. Unlike us, I guess he would be able to get Nix config faster than this. Right. And here, share, it does say Nix language. Pretty cool, very cool. And this is our basic configuration. And also, one question would be this flake inputs Nix Darwin and installs packages from it. Can I use this on NixOS also? The same flag could it be used? I mean, programming path might take a while unless you know someone. I do not know someone. I was asking in my house or like in my relationships if someone is at a good place, but no, no, I cannot help you in this. No, not directly. Nix Darwin is macOS only. It is essentially the macOS port of NixOS. On NixOS, the equivalent is built right into the OS itself. Configuration.nix or NixOS configuration. So. Outputs. If you want a single flake that works on both, you can structure it to have separate outputs. Okay, we will structure it to have separate outputs. I have a few people like that, but I don't think they are gonna refer me. Shit, that emoji is crazy. That emoji, shit, wait, that emoji is crazy. I think if I do sendo, shit, that. Shit, it does not help. Sendo underscore. Okay, shit, underscore walrus. Shit. Shit. And colon afterwards also. Yo, let's go. I think you can also do this, maybe. This under sendo. This cool, because like none wants to trust anyone that much or do a favor. But I mean, you also have to become good enough so that they wouldn't have any problem in referring you. Unless you are a genius, it will take at least 2 years we are programming. But you already you are in your third year. Or shit, you are in your second year. And yep, like get better at programming. It would be good then. Shit, error. Aborting activation. Why the following files have unrecognized content and would be overwritten? Please check. There is nothing critical. If there is something critical, I have my whole configuration in these files. And also somehow the git tree is dirty. He's like calling out names now. Git tree is dirty. Okay, I guess we should copy the content of these two files somewhere. Shit, wait. This thing. Okay, this was written by Nix itself. And also we have shrc. Okay, which was also written by Nix itself. And I don't need neither of them. Delete this. Delete. Wait, okay. Sudo vim. Delete. yes, and delete. Cool. Okay. Setting up applications / Nix. Okay, I have my own key pairs. Waiting for Nix Demon Slayer. Okay. Why is this thing giving us key pairs? Random image setting up / etc. This warning means you are running command as root via sudo, but your actual home directory does not use sudo. Control A to go. Yes, Control A to go to the start. If we do not use sudo, then we get this error. Shit, I guess there was a contest today. It was in the afternoon. There is a different ceiling of skills for people who don't have contact. Shit. 7 minutes is what I can spare to play with you. Wait, what are you talking about? You want to play a chess game? Or you are making some reference? 7 minutes. So it needs root activation, but shouldn't be run as root. Okay, the right way would be use remote sudo. The use remote sudo flag tells Darwin rebuild to invoke sudo only for parts. Okay, use remote sudo. Unknown option. REMOTE SUDO. Because I guess it should come here. Or shade unrecognized flag. Use REMOTESUDO. Whiskering? No, it is a Resident Evil. Okay. Shit, I haven't played Resident Evil. There is a movie coming out, Resident Evil. Resident Evil by Zach Kreger this year. And it is going to be very cool. September, it will come out in September. And these people are there. Use remote sudo. Unknown option. Use remote sudo. The problem is if I run this command as a sudo user, then it will change configuration for the root user, but not for my user. I think it is going to be very good because the director is Mr. Zach Kreger. And he has made 2 movies. Like, I don't know about these other movies, but these 2 movies, Weapons and Barbarian, and these 2 are very good movies. Barbarian is very good. Weapons is also very good. So probably they will be better. Here the problem is if we run this command as a sudo user, then Nix installs the packages for the root user and not for my user. But if we do not run this as a sudo user, then we do not have permission to access secret files. The flag isn't supported in this version. Try passing sudo a different way. What different way? Run Nix Darwin switch. This is like the exact same command, and call this with sudo /home. Warning from earlier is harmless. It's just warning, not an error. So running sudo should be fine here. No, it is not fine. Sudo Nix experimental features, flakes, and Nix command run Nix Darwin switch. Flake is right here. /username is walrus. That might work. Or shit. Unrecognized experi experiment. Features, and yep, all of this was done for the root user but not for me. Okay, yep. And now this Darwin rebuild command is present for the root user but not for me, which is very sad. Vim, and Vim is there or not there. Shit, and Vim is not there. Which Vim are we using? /user. Which nvim are we using? Nvim is from /run, I think, which is a NixOS thing. Where even are we? /var/root. We are inside the root user. Nope. We wanted to download this for the current user, not the root user. ls l/users. Cool. And the owner of walrus is walrus. Exit command not found. Crazy. Sudo this does not have an installer. Nix Darwin does not have an installer. You can just run Darwin rebuild switch. Darwin rebuild switch to install Nix Darwin, as Darwin rebuild won't be installed in your path yet. We are temporarily installing this package and we are running it with this command. Okay. This is installing Nix Darwin for the root user, not for the current user. How do we install Nix Darwin? Setting up Nix Darwin Davis. Yes. Okay, maybe we cannot do this in any random file, and this is the only place. This is the only file where we should define our flake. Nix flake init Nix Darwin. Yep. Yep. And then define everything. Okay, shit. There has to be a user's thing, I guess. Packages Darwin.nix. This is Darwin. The default flake puts the configuration in. Yes, I decided to copy and paste that configuration into a file named darwin.nix users.davis david.sh davis flake.nix in home manager inputs all of these. Darwin.nix file is not being used here. Configuration modules. And bro is not using sudo here. Nix run Nix Darwin. I guess this is very old. This is, how old is this? 23. 2.5 years old. Nix run Nix Darwin rebuild. Flake is okay. System configuration must now be run as sudo as root. Nix Darwin. This should be run as root, but if we run this as root, the changes are made for the root user, but not for the current user. No sub command is specified. Okay. Excel. Cool. Okay, and then new. Okay, /run current system sw bin. Okay, echo path export path equals dollar path colon /run current system sw bin into zshrc. Okay, and source zshrc. What is 95 7500? 7125 probably. Okay. And which enable brew uninstall neovim. Okay, which envim slash okay, shit, why do rm rf or sudo user local bin envim? That does not even make sense. What is this command? Sudo rm. Now which envim do we have? Cool. So I think we can uninstall homebrew and all the packages which we have installed using homebrew. Brew, help, search info, install, upgrade, uninstall. Brew. How to uninstall all the brew packages? Why uninstall homebrew? Because now I have Nix package manager instead of homebrew. So beautiful. Force brew list formula. Okay. Okay. And this might just break. Everything. So we will store brew list formula. What does formula do? Okay. Formula. Okay, we'll store this in some brew.txt file. Brew.txt. Okay, we have all the package names here. Now brew uninstall this force. This takes in cat. I think to run a command in this we have to do this. Cat brew. No. Brew.txt. Shit, substrate. Okay. Everything is uninstalling, which was installed using homebrew. Okay. Okay, tmux is gone. Tmux is gone, but why is tmux gone? Tmux should be there. Config cd nix n geek dot Nix tmux. Okay, tmux is not here. pkgs dot tmux and Nix search tmux. How to search package in Nix. What is the syntax for this? Search in packages, this thing. Okay, next search. Nix packages. It is looking, and tmux is there, I guess. Stop. If we do the whole thing, Nix sudo I go to root user. This thing has Darwin rebuild command, and this takes /users/ walrus.config Nix as the flake. Unknown option switch. Shade TLDR is not there. Let's also install TLDR. Shade. I guess Nix package does not have TLDR. There is a way to install brew packages using flake. Man, Nix Darwin is not there. How to build using Nix Darwin. Darwin rebuild. Darwin rebuild build. Okay, cool. Darwin rebuild switch. Build only to compile the configuration into a result link without applying it immediately. We want to apply. So sudo Darwin. Okay, shit. Darwin rebuild command is there. Okay, shit. Crazy. Darwin rebuild. And yep, sudo Darwin rebuild switch flake is this place. Does not provide attributes. Which LSD? Shade. Okay, we are using the one. Does not contain Nix dot flake dot /nix. Dirty, and this is installing, copying something. Okay. Okay, shit. Cool, cool. So what we have now is a way to install packages. We can install packages, which is good. Okay, we can install packages using NixOS. Nix. Okay. I guess we are not using this, and we are also not using this. Cool. Cool. We have a way to define packages using NixOS. Cool. Configuration, Darwin configuration. And what are the places that we have used Darwin at? Nix package host platform. Cool. Okay, so I guess that would be it for today. We have established a way and replaced homebrew with flake with Nix configuration, Nix packages, and that would be it. Shit. Okay, cool. That would be it, and this whole configuration is on GitHub at NixOS. Here, Nix.flake, all the packages are here. We have not set up how we are going to define configuration for these packages, but cool. At least we have something, and then we can slowly clean this up, remove the packages which we do not need, and also add configuration for packages. But what should I do, man? I am so confused. Confucius was a Chinese man. Yeah, just do anything, like pick anything. Being doubtful is more painful than pain, I guess, is the thing, is the saying. Yep, so do anything, something at least, that would be better. And this is cool. Okay. So we have written configuration for this. Cool. And that would be it. I don't have any patience. That is a problem you will have to fix. I was doing CF since a few days back, but the streak broke. So now you can do CF problems now, like right now that you are aware that of your broken streak. Now you can start solving problems. Would be cool. And yep, I would have to go. I've been streaming for quite some time now. Cool. So that would be it for today. We have changed and deleted homebrew, and we are using NixOS to define all the packages which are being used. Cool. And then we can do a stream in which we would add configuration for those packages and also clean up the packages which are not being used. Cool. That would be it. And thank you for being here.